go back, blot that off, soften this edge along here. Okay. I guess we will go back. I don't see a lot of other things that probably there's a lot of fine detail that we'll come in and do toward the end here, like that. But right now, let's go ahead and get the orange in. And I think I will use this, might be a little small. Let's get this is the number 8 Escoda. This is a Versatile. It's a nice brush. All right, let's darken up this area. Push this back here. So we get that definition of his belly coming forward there. And then under here, under this fin where his belly is really dark. And then we'll just wash that up. Blot your brush, soften the edge. There we go, that's better. A little darker even, I think. Really want that dark belly under there. All right, and I know we have to have more orange coming out here. That stroke was a little harsh, so we'll soften that. Let's just soften all those. Just trying to get the illusion of movement. That is actually almost a cobalt blue right down here. So I'm just going to put some of that in there. A little bit of that. Soften that. These are just suggestions of the fins. Alright, I think we need to darken under his belly a little bit more. Under here. Wash that out. Gives us that rolling over sensation there. I'm going to go in now with that yellow, that bright yellow that was up here. And that's in here. And soften some of these transitions. And come along these edges with it. And that actually should have been violet right there. That's okay though. That's alright. This is actually a definite line here. Coming in there. And some more definite orange in here. And be careful going over the orange, going over the violet with the orange, because it is going to neutralize it somewhat. So we have to be careful with that. I wish this curve was better right here. I may, when I do the background, I may cut into that like I did here and give that a nicer flow there. Overall, I think he's looking pretty good. I'm going to take a break right now and critically look at this and see what needs to happen here to make this more interesting. I know this needs to be orange up in here, and there needs to be a large swoopy thing going on in here and there. That all has to be orange there. And some of this is more orange. We need a smaller brush to flick that out though. Okay. Relatively happy with that. I think this needs to come out like this. And if I'm trying to get that flicking motion, I'm going to work away from wherever I am flicking from, like that. Try to get these, just some definite. And then if I'm curving it, if I don't curve it, it doesn't look right. So let's soften that a bit. All right. So I think we're pretty close to overworking this. So I think we're going to have to be a little careful here. I'm going to go ahead and put the tail of this sky purple. So that gives him a nice different, actually it's very light, which is why I think I did that, because it's so light. So maybe we'll just leave it. We'll leave it yellow. So I'm going to critically look at this and I will dry it and be back shortly. All right, we're back. I'm just putting some finishing touches on this. I am lifting out some of these lighter places, some of the lights that we lost. Arches you can do this with as long as you're really careful. And this is just a little 3/8 inch flat brush that I use to lift with. And as long as you're not using highly staining colors, you can lift out some of these areas just to give it a softer look. And I think we got a little heavy-handed in here with some of these colors, so I'm just scrubbing this out a little bit. As long as you're careful and you don't overdo this and you don't damage your paper, it's fine to go ahead and do it. Trying to get some more of this proper shape in here. Still not happy with that shape. I may go in and change that. I may not. We'll see. And I'm going to take just a very washy wash of the violet and push this, and maybe a little bit more, push this back a little bit, this part, to show that it's behind the fish a little bit. This is all darker actually, this whole area. So I think we'll just have it coming in a little darker here. That's a little better. Soften this a little bit. Okay. All right, I think we need to soften this edge a little. You can just do that with a wet brush. Now, if you wanted to go back in on this with white paint, it's totally up to you. I will show you how to do that. I'm going to stop here because this is getting overworked, but I will show you how to go in with a white gouache or a white watercolor paint. This is Chinese white. And everywhere that I want really light. Just a highlight. I'll do it that way. And ever so carefully, just to not overdo it. Now, a lot of people don't use white gouache like this, so it's totally up to you. Now, that has the tiniest bit of orange in it, so it's kind of doing an interesting color there, which I kind of like. And see, if you blot it back, it's not so opaque. I want this tip right on here. And just this ever so slight indication there. Just to put in some of these lines that in the fins, they actually have like veining. But this is a very light touch to do this. And that needs to curve. They all need to curve down like that. And maybe just the tiniest little bit up in here, just to give a little definition there. And I want to put the edge back on here because we lost that highlight. Anywhere that you lose a highlight that you just want to reclaim, like that. And right here. See? Tiny, the key here is to be as subtle as possible and to not overdo this. If you end up overdoing it, you lose the effect. So actually, I'm probably going to stop there. And I think I'm going to do this background one more time just to make sure that it's dark enough. I'm liking all this. The best thing to do is just go over your painting and be sure that you have things defined the way, I'm not happy with this, but that's okay. That you have your definition the way you want it. Coming in. And I think I am, and I think we're going to call him done. So I will post the final photograph of this after I do this background one more time. There's nothing magical about doing these backgrounds. You just have to keep it all wet as you go. Keep a wet edge on your, don't let one section dry out. And when you touch in somewhere, be sure that everything around it is still wet. And if you have to, and use a large brush, the largest brush you can handle. You know, I use something like this, a Skoda, to go back in there. And it's okay if you want to wet your background first and then lay your color in, but that's going to lift a certain amount of the color. So we have to be careful with that. So if you wanted to wet the whole background, you could. But there you have it. And I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you soon.